Missouri harbors 25 common invasive plant species. The bush honeysuckle is one of them, and it can be found on our campus. Bush honeysuckle was introduced during the 1800s for erosion control and landscape ornamentals. However, the competition it creates has begun to make native fauna disappear. What effect could this have on our ecosystem?
On Maryville's main campus, the bush honeysuckle can be found in any forest area. It is easy to spot in the spring, summer, and fall as it dominates over native fauna. This might make you wonder, how is the bush honeysuckle so successful and what can we do to stop it? In Chapter 2, we discussed ecosystem dynamics. Healthy ecosystems are ecosystems that have all components of their food web, so there are no species missing. Stable ecosystems are ecosystems that are able to remain in the same state. Honeysuckle are outcompeting native fauna, causing them to disappear. These holes in the food web make our ecosystem unhealthy. This also makes our ecosystems unstable. The forest cannot harbor too many animals because there isn't enough food. Our forests surrounding Maryville become unable to respond to change. We can see this in the forest behind the baseball field where human influence, habitat fragmentation, and the bush honeysuckle have left little wildlife remaining. Invasive species provide competition for resources. With dramatic expansion, invasive organisms may use up or block access to resources needed by native organisms, including food, space, and light. Invasive species may be better suited to take advantage of disturbed conditions than native species. Bush honeysuckle plants appear earlier than other plants in the spring. This gives the bush honeysuckle an advantage because it has already begun to grow while other plants begin to sprout. The bush honeysuckle outcompetes the native fauna for sunlight with their thick understory. The invasive species creates a vast network of fine roots to absorb more water and nutrients than the native fauna. It has been shown that the bush honeysuckle may also produce a chemical that inhibits native plant growth. In Chapter 10, we covered the topic of biocontrol. Biocontrol is the use of one type of organism to manage another undesirable species such as an invasive plant. Maryville already uses goats for biocontrol in the early spring. Since bush honeysuckle is the only plant flowering and growing at this time, they are one of the only available plants for the goats to eat, effectively clearing the honeysuckle for other plants. Another organism we could use for biocontrol is the European honeysuckle aphid. An infestation of these aphids causes the tips of branches to form deformed twigs that results in reduced fruit production, which in turn stops the bush honeysuckle growth and spreading. There is a low risk using the aphid because native ladybug beetles control the aphid population. To recap, according to Chapter 4, the bush honeysuckle is a successful invasive species because it outcompetes the native species. The bush honeysuckle has 4 advantages that we discussed: early sprouting time, fast growth of the understory, fine root network, and the production of chemicals to block growth in other plants. According to Chapter 2, the effect of the honeysuckle is that it causes competition that creates gaps in the food web, making an unhealthy ecosystem, and it also makes more competition in the upper trophic levels, causing food shortages, ultimately creating an unstable ecosystem. Finally, according to Chapter 10, we can use other organisms, such as the goat and the European honeysuckle aphid, to control the bush honeysuckle, a concept known as biocontrol.